Very warm welcome to Katie Robbins. And if you follow Katie on Instagram, you will know her better as Ceramic Magpie. Interesting handle.
Yeah, that is a bit weird, isn't it? Okay, there is a little story behind that one because it is, I'm not a horrible kind of bird which kills other birds. No. Um, Pinterest, when I first started Pinterest, I was using it to collect ideas for house renovation. And it was all about, finding pretty things. And then when Instagram started, I was like, oh, well, how can I differentiate myself? Because a lot of people use their names, or there was a lot of, the wild women, or I can't think of anything in particular now. But yeah, I just wanted something which stood out a little bit and it was memorable. So that's why I had it. I love
Mm.
birds.
And magpies do get a bit of a bad press. So I think to have a ceramic magpie is lovely.
Yeah, I have often wondered whether I should just change it to my name, but then when you've had it for so long, you just kind of get used to it.
Exactly. Well, thank you for joining me and welcome. And like a lot of the women I've spoken to for an art to it, you had a whole previous life before you came to ceramics, and you worked in marketing, which is quite a as careers go, is quite a creative career. Did you feel that was creative enough, or did you feel when you were doing that, no, I've got a hankering to be even more creative than this?
I think at the time I didn't really realise it. I think I probably was quite frustrated. I mean, I love the creative element in terms of words. That was always quite interesting. And it's funny, I was thinking about this, that the bits I most enjoyed about the job were the creative elements where we had like an art department. It was also an advertising agency, so there's an art department. And I always loved going upstairs and seeing all like, the Mac operators. And whenever we had to put together something which was more visual, I always really enjoyed that. And I always enjoyed like planning the photo shoots. And one of our clients was called Swish, which did like blinds and curtains. And we had to do this like really posh booklet about trends of the future. And I loved helping them put that together. So yeah. But at the time I was doing like a few night classes. So I always kind of kept my hand in with pottery. But at the time I never envisaged that, if you'd have told me when I was 30 that you're going to have a career as a potter, I wouldn't have ever believed you.
So it wasn't something that had, or was it something that had always been in your life and a hankering to do it, or not at all?
I always wanted maybe to be a bit more creative, but I thought that was like a hobby. So when I was at school, I went to quite an academic school and I did art AS. And I think out of like, there were like 150 girls in my year, only three of them did art A level. And then I think there were another three who did AS. So it wasn't ever really pushed as a career, oh, you could be doing this. But I did enjoy pottery and I made some quite clunky architectural forms. But I did like working with clay back then. And then yeah, I did quite a lot of night school classes actually with ceramics. But it was only after I had a career break, after I had children, I started doing other creative courses. So I did some sewing for a while, which is very therapeutic. And then I did a clay course with my friend and just really loved it. And then just kept going back and doing more. So it wasn't a linear journey at all.
And to sort of to go back a step, you said you went to quite an academic school, and what did you go and do at university?
I did French and politics. So I did something, yeah, completely that you'd never kind of imagine if you don't know me. But I was actually really into languages and I did, yeah, two languages at university. And then I took a year out after university and taught English as a foreign language in Madrid. And I don't know, I chose marketing because it sounded fun. Like you were doing lots of different things, you were organising events, and there was a bit of, writing and all this kind of malarkey. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I knew I didn't want to go into politics. So that narrowed my
Probably
options
wise.
down, really.
So you were talking there about you were doing some evening classes, you liked a bit of sewing and also ceramics. What was it about the clay, about pottery that was the thing that won you over, the area that won you over?
No, really. I guess I just like making things with my hands because the whole kind of, I feel very, very privileged really that the making side, I don't know if you've ever had a play with clay, but it's so meditative.
The
And
reason I have a gallery is because I was useless at ceramics.
I don't know. It's just, yeah, very tactile and just nice being able to make something in 3D. But, I also love painting and maybe if I'd done some painting courses back then, I would have gone on a whole different path. I don't know. I do love, yeah, making things, I guess. And I just love the beauty of the natural world and the colours. And yeah, I think that's all important for me.
And so, did you just see it initially as a hobby? And was there then a point that you thought, oh, I could actually do this? This could be something that could be my, because you said you took a career break,
Mm.
this could be my new thing.
Yeah, definitely. But it was only like my friend saying to me, "Oh, you should do this for real." And I was like, "Oh, really? Could I?" Where I learnt my pottery skills, honed my skills, was at a local centre called the Midlands Arts Centre, and they had an open exhibition. And I submitted because I used to slip cast back then. I submitted like little bars which had like a little black damask flower on it, and it sold. And I was like, oh wow, people, with that feeling when somebody wants to pay for your work, it's just really kind of it. That was like a bit of a light bulb moment, I think. And then there was like another exhibition that I was involved with there. And that was all of these beautiful, like little seascape vessels with lots of little holes, and yeah, they're really pretty. And then, like, my confidence gradually developed to the stage where my partner was just getting really upset with me making things on my kitchen table. And that coincided with us moving house. So this little area here used to be like an old conservatory, which was too hot in summer, too cold in winter. So we changed its use and made it into my studio. So yeah, I've got this lovely garden studio. I'm so lucky, so lucky. But of course, there's a flip side to being on your own every day and being your own boss and having to motivate yourself. But yeah, I do love it.
A lot of ceramicists I've spoken to for the podcast are all hugely talented women who, Judy McKenzie, Liz O'Dwyer, Debs Harwood, making beautiful, beautiful pieces. And each of them have that, oh no, calling myself a ceramicist. Oh no. Did you have that moment, or were you confident from the get go that you could say, hi, I'm Katie and I'm a ceramicist?
No, no, I definitely wasn't confident at the beginning. And it was interesting that your last podcast, Lucy, she was saying how she'd gone to art school and then she was quite happy to call herself a ceramicist when she graduated from art school. And I think sometimes you do have this when you're self-taught. There isn't a definite like, hey, you graduated. You're selling, you're starting to sell, you're selling more, was getting featured in a couple of magazines. Suddenly, you wake up one day, you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing it. But there was no kind of, yeah,
Ta-da!
yeah, yeah. But then, I've been and seen, like you said, these other ladies who also, had this bit of imposter syndrome. I saw Rich Miller last week, and he was doing a demonstration. And then he's like TV personality. He's been making all these like amazing objects, and he had this interview in the Times, really well known, respected. And even he was saying, "Oh yeah, sometimes I get a bit of imposter syndrome." I think, I think I think it's kind of personality as well that maybe I wasn't, confident enough. Don't know.
And when you started initially, did you think I've got a really clear idea of what my brand's going to be, what my practice and my business is going to be, or has it just evolved as you've evolved?
Actually, when I first started, I was slip casting and I was doing something completely different. So I was making like quite large pieces, mainly decorative, mainly sculpture, a bit more headed towards, like art galleries. And that's what I thought I wanted to do. And then somewhere along the line, I was a bit like, I don't know if these are really me. They were completely beautiful, They were mainly white, although I did slip cast in colour. And then somewhere along the line, it was still porcelain, and I'd been started making like learning to throw on the wheel. And learning to throw isn't that straightforward. It takes a lot of time and dedication and practice. And gradually, as I got better at doing the wheel throwing, I was like doing that. And then I was like being able to incorporate pretty colours like the pinks and the greens and the blues. And that, I think that was what really drew me in. Um, and then once I decided that I was making that, then I think I became a bit more aware that, okay, this is my brand now. And I think I developed a new website, and I had a friend who came in and did some photographies, behind the scenes of me in my space. Um, and I think at the same time, that's when like Instagram was really coming into play as a method for artists get their work out into the world. And then I did become very like, oh, these are my colours and this is my brand. And all the marketing work that I'd done at McCann's was very kind of focused on brand and the person behind the brand. And so I was really at that stage, I became a bit of a brand girl, a brand ambassador for myself.
I was going to ask that because it is, having worked in PR, it's quite difficult to do your own PR, to sort of PR
Mm,
yourself. How
yeah.
easy did you find it to market your work, really?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question as well, because I've actually never ever written a press release about myself. Um, but that's mainly because when you're doing a campaign for a client, there's a big budget and that's all you're doing. Whereas for me, I'm making, so there is limited time to do, the whole marketing. Um, yeah, I think. Sorry, so what was the question again? I have
I
just
just sort of how easy do you find it to
again.
market yourself? Because
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
I suppose it's sort of two parts to it. It's your product, but it's also you. And as you were saying earlier, it's the person behind the brand as well.
Yeah, I think I really had to work hard at this because when I was in my marketing role, believe it or not, I got really nervous but I used to get like a really red chest whenever I had to present. And I think that when I first started selling, I kind of made it my job to understand Instagram and the opportunities that social media have. And so I kind of like really forced myself to become more confident talking about my work. So I don't think it was easy. And a lot of people say to me, oh, but you're so good, you're so natural. It's like, I wasn't natural at the beginning. It's something that you really, it's a skill that you have to develop. And it's as much as I've developed skills in my pottery making and my glazing and, learning how to do your own website and newsletters. And there's so many things that you have to be good at when you're running your own business. And I think if somebody had told me all of that at the beginning, I'd have been like, oh no, that sounds like far too much hard work. But it's quite interesting when you look back about all the things that you've taught yourself. And yeah, it's worth it. All these like little steps, all these little building blocks to put you on the right road.
Because you don't go into being a creative because you want to be a business. You have gone into what you're doing because you found you loved making with clay. As you said, the tactility. That doesn't mean that you want to sit and do spreadsheets and make little display things to go to a ceramics show. Yeah, it's all part and parcel of the business.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, numbers and me aren't really the best of friends. But luckily, I've got a husband who absolutely loves numbers and is quite happy to crunch them. And he helps me do my tax return. So that's really good because that is like, oh, that and logistics of buying boxes and getting the right size. And oh, gosh, like that makes my skin crawl. He's also my kiln technician. So I wouldn't be where I am without him.
Perfect. He's got several job descriptions there.
I know. He comes home from a hard day's work, like, oh, can you just like sand down my kiln shelf for me? And he's like, he always does it with a smile, bless him.
And in terms of your work, you do make quite a wide range of products, beautiful things that I've looked at on your website. Are you led with your marketing head thinking this is what sells well, or are you led with your heart of this is what I enjoy making?
Yeah, I'd love to say that I'm led with my heart, but it just that doesn't that wouldn't really work for me, especially because I'm doing markets and you have to have like a lower price point of items. I think if I was just selling in, in lovely galleries, then maybe I could just, be selling all of like my 50 to 150 pound vases and it wouldn't be so much of an issue. But I think when you do a market, you have to kind of have a range of items. Oh, I don't know. I mean, I might be doing it completely wrong. You never know. But yeah, I think the other thing when you're making is it's much easier when you make a batch of something. So it would be silly of me just to make one mug, one bowl. It's so much easier to do a batch of like 10 or 15 in a day. And so then that's kind of really steering what I'm making. So I'll make a batch of mugs, a batch of vases. I've got a local market coming up, so I've done like a batch of herb strippers. Um, and then sometimes it looks like I make lots of different things, but then sometimes these things are seasonal as well. So like at Christmas, I'll be making candle holders and yeah, the website's a bit deceptive because it tends to be the things which haven't really sold for a while, which I still leave on there. Um, so yeah, I don't make that many different things at one time. Or maybe I do, because I noticed the other day I've had a bit of a spring creative overhaul recently, and I've been making lots of different things, but that's because I want to see what direction I'm going to go in. So yeah, that's another thing.
That's your marketing head. That's your product development head. That's very good.
Not intentionally. It's just really feeling that maybe I could be doing more. And I think during COVID, I kind of got stuck in this kind of, it was a successful rut at the time because I was just like doing my shop updates and I'd make like 10 of those in 4 different colors. And it was kind of like an easy strategy. And then since COVID, my online shop sales kind of, you know, dipped a little bit and it's getting harder to be seen on Instagram, which is kind of why I've then kind of shifted to doing a few more in-person events as well. Yeah.
And I did see on Instagram that one of your recent or last year in person events was a specific ceramics show, it was a pop fest. You've obviously done quite a lot of markets and things. How
Yes.
did you feel about, and did you have any imposter syndrome in this? How did you feel about applying to something like Pop Fest, which does attract some very established names in ceramics? Or did you just think, yep, I'm as good as the rest of them, I will give it a go?
It's kind of one of those things that, yeah, I kind of feel like I wanted to be seen by my peers a bit more and as an established potter. Um, and everybody always says, oh, you must do Pot Fest. It's really good fun. And it was a totally lovely experience because you're with all these like established potters who kind of like want to take you under your wing. It's like, oh, it's your first time. And, they're giving you little tips about the display because it's a bit of a funny display area, Melton Mowbray, because it's a cattle market basically, and just like getting the right cloth and different ways to make it look neat. And they're all telling me, oh yeah, you need these display boards at the back, and that will make your work really stand out. So I think it was quite useful being amongst all those potters. I think the first day when you're walking around, you're a little bit like, oh, that's Tony Laverick, and I can't remember any names now. But I've seen a lot of these people at the Pop Fest shows at Compton Burney because Compton Burney's just down the road from me, so you kind of know these people anyway a little bit. Um, so yeah, there definitely was probably a bit of imposter syndrome sneaking in there, but after a while you realise, when the sales come in, and that's what speaks for itself, really.
Exactly.
And yeah, I do have to try and big myself up sometimes.
And did you enjoy it? That's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, I attend night classes still to do throwing larger items. So I had my friend, well, teacher Austin to the right of me, and then there was a guy to the left of me called Colin Jowett, and he was just like really lovely. And then I had lots of people come and see me, and all the other potters who are there. The evening events are quite good, and you're with people who are your kindred spirit, and you're talking like pottery. You can have all the geeky pottery conversations. So yeah, it was a really great experience.
And I do think ceramicists are very generous in passing on and sharing tips. I think, of probably all the different artists and makers, ceramicists are probably the most generous spirited.
Yes, well, the thing about sharing a tip is you can share it, but it's nobody else is going to make the same shape and use the same glaze, because everybody wants to have their own individual style. So it doesn't really matter if you share, because you really need to worry about copying. So yeah, I do love the generous community, and I especially love the community on Instagram. Um, Especially as a maker working on her own. There are times it's not so bad in the summer when you're like, oh, I can go and have lunch outside and do a bit of potting in the greenhouse. But when it's cold and wet and miserable, and you're just there on your own every day and in a cold space, it's not quite as appealing, maybe.
But it is summer, and you are sitting with some beautiful vase filled with beautiful lilac at the moment. And
Yes.
flowers I see on Instagram are obviously a real passion of yours as well. So do they inspire your making? Do you think, I want to show X kind of flower, I will go tall, or I'd love some more bud vases, or how does it work?
Definitely. I think the original thing about the flowers was like my earliest childhood memories are of me playing in the garden, or of my mom, putting me in front of like her giant sunflowers or whatever, sweet williams or dahlias, and having pictures of me in the garden. And she passed away, I think, I can't remember now. Blocked it out of my mind. I think it was about 7 years ago. And ever since she passed away, I just want to do everything floral. It's like I'm trying to keep her memory alive, I think. And I just love flowers, and she loved flowers and growing them. And um, now, I've been in my house now for like 10 years, 12 years, and I've really loved growing things which I can pick. I love growing things in the garden itself, but I've got a dedicated cutting patch so that I can, I don't know which case. It's like chicken and egg. Does it was did the vase come first or did the flowers come first? But they both feed off each other. I did these flower frog vases,
Ah,
which
yes.
got like the integrated lid, and they were really popular. And I did those at first for a specialist dahlia grower, and then they were so popular that I haven't stopped making them since. And yeah, it's just really lovely to be able to say that I made this and I've grown these flowers, and then also you're giving that gift to somebody else, whoever buys them. You're giving them like a moment to themselves to take time, pick some flowers, arrange them in a vase, be able to admire them, smell them, and it's just like it's yeah, that's it for me. I love it.
Little marketing idea, and you probably have already thought of it. Do you
Oh,
ever, with your vases, say perfect for dahlias or ideal for sweet peas, or any of those little suggestions to
yeah,
stimulate your
yeah.
purchasers?
People have said that to me. Oh, this is like the dahlia vase. You should do like a tulip vase, and you should do like a sweet pea. But I've never really quite got round to it. But I've got like my petal vases, which are kind of great for. I just call them garden blooms, really, because most of the time I'm making quite small items. So it's people who just want to pick their little garden posy. I think if they've ordered like a massive bouquet from Bloom and Wilds, and these vases, they're not quite right. You need something with a bit of stature. Um, but yeah, I do love the idea that you've got like a different vase for a different flower. Yeah, like, yeah. Oh, thinking now. You got me thinking.
Off on a tangent. And did you think at any point, sort of in the early stages, once you had your studio, once you started making, did you think, okay, I'm on this creative business path now? Success for me will be when, I don't know. What did you think success might be?
Yeah, I mean, for me, success isn't a number. Success is knowing that making my own deadlines, I'm deciding my own work day, I'm getting to make lovely things and sell them. Yeah, I'm kind of in a like, a semi-fortunate position where I'm not making the big bucks with my ceramics, but I'm probably, scraping minimum wage, but I love it and I wouldn't have it any other way. So
I
there,
don't,
very honest reply for you.
I don't think any of us go into this line of work to make an awful lot of money.
Oh no, there are some potters out there, crystalline potters who are like, they've got their molds and they're racking them out. But yeah, I mean, it's lovely work, but I'm not a production potter. And I don't think I'd want to be. And, when you work for yourself, you work harder than you would for anybody else. You do put the hours in, but in terms of pottery, it's quite hard on your body. You're kind of like in this hunched position over the wheel quite a lot of the time. And I go to the gym, I go to yoga, and I've had issues with my body, and I really want to look after myself going forward. So, um, yeah, that's why there's this whole thing about more decorative work. I went to collect earlier in the year, and it was just really interesting to see, the more sculptural elements which people are selling, and I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? So we'll see. We'll see. Who knows? Who knows what the future will bring?
So you say quite rightly you're not a production potter and that's not what you want to be. But do you feel that you do need having business skills, having entrepreneurial skills are still important to you as a soul maker?
Oh, definitely. I was thinking about this because my dad is like he was kind of like an entrepreneur. He started off kind of not having anything and he kind of built up a farm and quite a large business. So maybe I inherited my entrepreneurial skills from him. When you are your own business, you do have to be able to be good at lots of things and think about lots of things. Although I have to say that when I was in my marketing job, I had my computer on my desk. It was much easier to be organized. And although I like to say that I'm good at admin, yeah, I'm not as good as I used to be, that's for sure. But at least I know how to use a computer because I think if I'd come to like the art world to, this career without like that background in marketing, I think I'd have really struggled with basic things like setting up a website, doing my newsletter, learning how to do editing for videos. And yeah, I think that background has certainly helped me.
Well, I think, as we said earlier, you want to be creative, but at the same time, this all comes with it because you can't just keep making and not get it out there really, and you've got to promote yourself. Unless people find you and find your work, you could be making the most amazing stuff imaginable, but you've got to
Yeah,
sell it.
yeah, it's exactly that. You have to be able to market and sell your work. And that means, for me, that means, bringing people on my journey. So showing them where I am making the behind the scenes. Sometimes I do like to show like the failures and things which have gone wrong because then people are cheerleading you on. They want you to succeed, but also it's kind of very relatable. I will quite often come to Instagram with like a bad hair day and, no makeup on because I just think that is a bit more real. And I've found that people like this genuineness about the makeup. I wouldn't go to an event and turn up in my ripped jeans and my top Martens. I think when you're at an event, you need to be presentable. But people like a bit of reality. And I think one of the other things in terms of marketing and selling, I think it's kind of finding a community and honing a community. A while back, I used to run these hashtags and they were called Creating Spring, Creating Summer. And I used to run it as I'd feature somebody on my blog. Um, we do a little prize for all the makers who had tagged Creating Spring and they would win, like, I don't know, it was like a piece of macrame or a piece of art or needlework or whatever craft it was. And that really helped foster this whole sense of community. And going forward, that is one of the aspects about Instagram that I really love, is that there is kind of this kind of sisterly community where people, are positive and help each other out. And yeah, when you don't have colleagues at work who you can just turn around and say, oh, what do you think of this? Then, it's really nice when you can put that question out there, and it's not doesn't just go out there. People do go, oh, actually, have you thought about doing this? Or I really love what you're doing with that. So it's not me looking for compliments. It's me looking for a bit of reassurance sometimes.
And do you think that because you do talk on Instagram about what you're making and the process and sharing aspects of your making process, so do you see that community as fellow creatives and fellow ceramicists, or have you developed or built a collectors and buyers community as well on Instagram?
Yeah, it's much wider because it's all like the growers as well and all the people who love their flowers. And for me, with my marketing hat on, I was like, oh, if I could get involved with like these flower growing communities, then they might like my vases. And I have kind of done that to an extent. Last year, I was in Grow Along, and that was really good fun. And it was really nice to kind of meet other people who aren't just makers. And some of those people are really inspiring and helpful. And I'd never have met those people otherwise. So yeah, the internet does bring like the whole world kind of closer to you, doesn't it? Just like, as we're having this little chat now.
And have you found through all these different connections that as well as creatives you've been inspired by, there's other businesses or entrepreneurs that you've looked at and thought, oh, I like how they're doing that, I'm going to sort of tap into a bit of that or remember how they did that?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, there's a lady called Martha Brooke who I find extremely inspirational, and she set up like a stationery business out of her bedroom. I think she mainly did it during COVID, and the success of her brand has been I can't say the word phenomenal. I think it's like 6 figures or something, and she employs like 20 people. Um, and she's had a really kind of fun way of presenting things, and she's very personable, and she really tapped into this whole kind of video content. And not only has she built an extremely successful brand, now she's helping other businesses develop their brands. And she has a thing that she runs called the Business Secrets Club. And that's great. I'm a member of that.
I've,
And
I've
because,
seen it, yeah.
yeah, it's hard to keep coming up with ideas about how to promote your work. And sometimes I'm like, I just can't. I have phases where I'm like, oh, I can't cope with another video. And then there are days I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I can do this. And like, she's giving like simple ideas and giving ideas for trending video and music. And because it is hard to keep coming up with all the ideas. And sometimes it's a matter of redoing things, but you don't always want to be recycling, do you? You want to do something a little bit fresh.
But it is, I have to say, with both the gallery and my Elaine Dye stuff, there are times I go, oh God, what now? What
I
have I got to
know.
dance about in front of a camera for this time?
But I really love your current series on, the A to Z of working with galleries, because that's so useful, because a lot of people don't have the confidence to approach galleries. Although I've always found that actually the galleries that like you tend to find you. It's much harder to approach a gallery, and unless you've done your homework and you really know what that gallery likes, um, it's much easier to be reactive rather than proactive. But it's difficult because depending on the price of your work, as soon as you go into a gallery, it's got to be at a high enough price that it's got to be make it work for both of you.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so yeah,
that is the thing for a lot of makers, and particularly ceramicists. If you're making work under £100, it really, if you're selling it in a gallery and they take 50% and they're VAT registered, what do you get out of it? And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
frustrating.
But you do get publicity. And that's one of the things that I love about if I do work with a gallery. There's one in Cambridge, and they are so good at promoting the maker. And there are other galleries which aren't so good. So, when if I know this podcast is going out to lots of others makers, is if you are approached, think about what you'll get out of it back. Um,
Absolutely.
and if they're going to put it online as well, that's brilliant because it's more eyes on your work.
As I've often said before, having your work in a gallery, I have people who come in who might think they're looking for a painting, but they buy some ceramics, or they just come in to buy a card and they see some beautiful painting or beautiful piece of
Yeah.
ceramics, and they wouldn't know that's what they were looking for until they see it. And
Yes.
that is the beauty of galleries, that you are reaching beyond just people who are searching for that specific thing.
Yeah. It's the impulse buy.
So other than Martha, any other entrepreneurs that have made you go, wow?
There's a lady who I know who's local, and she set up a yoga studio, and she set up one, and then she's got another in. There's a yoga studio in the park. It's like a cabin in the woods, and it's so lovely. And then she set up another one in Sutton, and she wants to take she wants to take yoga to unusual places. So she'll often do like pop-up events at the park, or I think she did some in some pubs actually. But what I really loved about, I didn't get to that one. But what I really loved about what she did is she's not just selling yoga, she's kind of selling that whole community. And I really love that. And so there's like a hiking group and there's a swimming group, especially for me as somebody who works on her own. And I just love her sense of drive and enthusiasm and love for what she does. And I just find that kind of really inspiring. The studio is called I Am Yogi, and the lady is Vicky Lawton, in case anybody is in Birmingham who wants to do yoga.
And go to the pub and hike at the same time.
Yeah, and go for their wild swim, which, God, got to do that these days.
So scarily, we are speeding through 2026, but have you got any goals or big plans for the rest of this year?
Well, I think really I need to knuckle down a little bit for the rest of this year. I have kind of allowed myself a lot of time to do experimentation. So I'm sowing the seeds for tomorrow's flowers. But yeah, I mean, you do have to put the hours in to do something different. So I think you probably will see a few more kind of 3D floral elements from me, and possibly some more floral designs. I'm doing a course next month at the Ceramic Studio in Kent to do, yeah, floral, more florals. I'm quite excited about that. I mean, I can teach myself those things, but when you've got somebody who's showing you, some shortcuts and different ways of doing it, so quite excited about that. And hopefully be making some more bigger pieces as well. I've got a few big events, and I'm concentrating on making sure that I've got enough stock for those, not get too distracted.
So, what are the events? Are you doing another pot fest?
I'm doing Pop Fest end of October, beginning of November. And then I'm doing Art in the Park in Leamington, which is a lovely event. Hundreds of artists over a weekend. And the footfall for that was like incredible. So it's really nice to do these kind of like events where you know the makers, and it's not just a selling event. It's people go for a good day out. So I'm quite excited about that one. And then I've got like a local market coming up next weekend, which, I'm not hoping to make loads of money from, but sometimes you have to do these things to be able to do like the Christmas one. So yeah, it's a lovely one in Edgbaston, and there's a type of French market. There's all like nice music and nice food. So yeah, it's a good day out for people.
Sounds delightful.
It is delightful.
Well, thank you so much for this, Katie. I've got one final question, which, as I know
Yes.
you have listened to the podcast, you will know. Um, it's called An Art to It. Do you think there is an art to running a successful creative business?
I don't know if it's exactly an art, but I think you do have to kind of, well, for me, bringing people along the journey with me has been really important, and developing this sense of community, because when you can, when you delight people, basically they become your champions, and then they want to tell everybody, oh, I bought this lovely pot from this lovely lady on Instagram, or whatever it is. And that's just so rewarding as well. It's so lovely. I did as well as doing the PR, I did a course in customer relationship marketing. And I remember that was the thing that stuck with me is that, you have to delight your customer. It's not just enough to make them happy. You've got to make yourself memorable. So with the online shop, it's, how the items are packaged and delivered so that, people open their parcel and it's like almost like it's a gift to them. It's all beautifully presented. I think everything I do, I'm always thinking, oh, what, how can I get more out of this, or how can I, make this a really beautiful thing for, the person.
It's well, it's
Not a
being
lot.
it's a marketing that you are being customer focused. That's exactly what
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
You deserve to reap the rewards of that because you are thinking what is going to make my customer, my client happy.
So I'm always thinking, oh, can I do this in a different color or a different shape, or what is really useful to people? I mean, just try to make a lemon squeezer, and maybe I won't be making lemon squeezers for a living, but it's just thinking what are the nice things and useful things. It's nice to have a bit of variety, spice of life and all that.
Exactly. And lemons, we need those to make lemonade.
We do, or cocktails.
Of Katie, thank you very much. Good luck with all your shows this summer and all your beautiful blooms in your garden.
Oh, thank you, Elaine. It's been really lovely talking to you, and just thinking through everything that all the questions you've asked me. It's made me feel quite good about myself. Recognizing all those little wins that I've had along the way.
Oh, well, my pleasure. I was very glad that you did. That you do. Thank you.